My name is Gautam Chabrolu and I am from Duke University. I am representing the Department of Environmental Protection in Indiana. The effects of climate change are far-reaching. Because the full impact is not immediate, it is crucial to act now to reverse the damage. Coal represents 29% of fuel use, but 46% of CO2 emissions of over 15 gigatons of CO2 per year. This past December, CO2 made up 401.85 parts per million of the air around us. We have reached dangerous levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, causing changes in weather patterns and the environment. The graph on the right shows the large effect global warming can have on the economy as well. As the sixth most polluted state in the nation, there are numerous health costs. It is estimated that reducing pollution can also save over $150 billion, as well as prevent tens of thousands of premature deaths. In the United States, the coal industry is dying and has been for the past 30 years because of economic pressures of reduced demand and cheap natural gas alternatives, not environmental regulations. In fact, regulations in 2009 coincided with a short boost in jobs in major coal producers and user states such as West Virginia and Kentucky. A few months ago, Arch Coal, the fourth largest coal mining company, filed for bankruptcy, and others such as Peabody are seen as the next in line. Looking forward, states need to look for environmentally as well as economically sustainable solutions. Even as U.S. coal consumption decreases, world demand increases exponentially, which will be a major consideration as states will be able to export instead of import coal, keeping coal companies afloat and preventing job loss. Indiana is a major coal state. As shown on the chart on the right, coal is used substantially more than any other energy source in the state. Republican Governor Mike Pence has close ties with many companies, such as Duke Energy, which supplies the most electricity in the state, and the Democrats have similar political connections. It is second in the nation in the amount of coal consumed, and 26,000 Hoosiers are employed in a related industry, with 2,500 directly in mining. Because of the low cost, much of this coal is used for electricity generation as well as an incentive for industrial entities who want cheap utilities. However, there are environmental concerns. 4 of the dirtiest power plants lie in Indiana, and there are no caps on greenhouse emissions. When the Clean Power Plan was announced, Governor Pence declared that Indiana would not submit a plan partly because of the massive economic costs that regulation would place on the coal industry that would lead to shutdowns, power outages, and increased costs for consumers. The EPA has developed a best system of emission reduction that's very generic for each state, which is based on 3 main building blocks of power plant efficiency improvements, combining natural gas with coal production, and increased use of renewable energies, especially wind and solar. The EPA allows the flexibility for states to choose a mass-based goal that measures CO2 emissions in short tons or a rate-based goal that measures the efficiency of electricity generation. In 2012, Indiana was observed to have a CO2 rate of 2,021 pounds per net megawatt hour. Taking into account the resources of the state and the importance of coal, the EPA has presented a goal of 1,242 pounds per net megawatt hour by 2030. Thus, we present to you our 3-pronged policy proposal. This will be a rate-based plan because it allows us to access, generate, and trade credits easily, which is key to our proposal. The first step is to transition the state away from daylight saving time. Research has shown that this will lead to lower energy consumption and is feasible given Indiana's history. The second step is to develop robust trade networks in Midwestern states that will boost the economy and allow leniency in power plant efficiency requirements. The final step is to retain as much coal because Indiana is one of the largest coal importers as well as exporters. This has led to inefficiency and additional costs that hamper the economy. In 2006, Governor Mitch Daniels implemented daylight saving time in the Eastern Time Zone with some controversy. Some counties in the corners of the state near Chicago and St. Louis decided to observe Central Time Zone to be in sync with the large cities. Our plan would be to return to the system in place before 2006, where only a handful of counties observed daylight saving time because of a proximity to a large city. The transition would be an opt-in from the status quo to allow states that would like to remain on DST to do so. After Indiana implemented daylight saving time, a study was done by the National Bureau of Economic Research to map energy consumption during DST. Contrary to common belief, there was actually an overall increase in energy consumption of 1.2% because although daylight saving time was implemented to reduce light usage and thus electricity usage, the increased daytime results in a higher usage of heating in the morning and cooling in the afternoon, which are more energy intensive. The study concludes with an estimate of $9 million in costs to Indiana households and between $1.7 and $5.5 million in social costs from pollution because of DST. We decided to update the quantitative analysis and use current figures from the Energy Information Administration. We found that the policy would put us 3.1% closer to our goal. This may seem like a drop in the bucket, but this allows us to transition to the rest of our proposal and provides multiple economic benefits that may be understated under the CPP. Also, a conservative model we developed shows that the emission rate in 2030 without CPP is expected to be 1,708 pounds of CO2 per megawatt hour, which is 40% of the goal, so there is not as much need for a massive reduction. Another important consideration is that climate change is leading to more extreme temperatures, so more energy will be used on cooling in the summer, leading to a greater effect of removing daylight saving in the future. Consulting with an EPA representative from Region 5 gave us insight into peak power pricing, where customers are charged more for electricity if used in a period of high demand. This is one of the major obstacles in making power economical for consumers, and our plan will do this by reducing overall demand, which will smooth out the curves and reduce prices for all consumers. The next major step is to increase trade among the states in the Midwest because of proximity and diversity. Such an approach is crucial. This is a much more effective approach than simply retrofitting or imposing taxes and various costs on power plants, because those costs tend to be passed on to consumers and actually have minor effects on reducing CO2 emissions. Finally, there are existing coalitions in the region that would help facilitate the creation of a robust trade network in the region for the purpose of trading emission reduction credits, as described in the Clean Power Plan, as well as energy resources. Power plants generate ERCs if they provide energy for a state on a rate-based plan. These credits are calculated based on the megawatt hours that are saved or replaced by another energy source and are then used to calculate an adjusted emissions rate. Through the Clean Energy Incentive Program, investments in renewable energy products, especially wind and solar, will receive credits. Projects to improve energy efficiency in low-income communities will earn double credits. These credits are used to access a total of 300 million short tons, and since Indiana has a large goal, the state will have access to more credits, giving its power plants more leniency and more leverage when trading. There are many ways to generate credits, so we will offer suggestions to each power plant. The EPA has put together an entire toolbox that each plant can use to find the most effective action. The curve on the right shows the effectiveness of reducing CO2 emissions from various measures. The further left the measure is, the more cost-effective it is. For example, retrofitting residential HVAC systems is much more cost-effective than retrofitting an existing coal plant. We do not mandate that the coals engage in these activities because they already do. Last week, Duke Energy pledged $500,000 in solar projects for churches, schools, and other community sites, including many low-income neighborhoods that lie nearby. Another important aspect of regional trading is that the states can specialize depending on their resources, develop a comparative advantage, and make more efficient business decisions. For example, Indiana could invest in nuclear power resources in Illinois, which could service parts of Indiana, reducing CO2 emissions and netting credits. If you look at the imports and exports of coal in Indiana, there is a net export of only $150,000 worth of coal. India needs to decrease its imports, especially from faraway states such as Wyoming. Overall, this will increase revenue in the state. 40% of the imports come from Wyoming, which is about 1,300 miles away. The main barriers are sulfur content of Indiana coal and a lack of infrastructure to adapt to the tough terrain. However, with the passing of a new $480 million infrastructure bill and projected reduction in demand for electricity, there will be less need to import coal in the future. Reducing this trade imbalance keeps coal miners and power plants in business by reducing costs and allows for increased economic power. Although an exact figure could not be derived for the monetary advantage of reducing imports because of the variability, it is estimated that more than 400,000 tons of CO2 can be saved per year from transportation of coal alone. Major concerns with this plan are that state political and business leaders are worried about the decline of coal companies, which would lead to more expensive energy and energy unreliability. This move to alternative energies is inevitable, but with our proposal, there will actually be a net increase in business, jobs, and income. This is shown on the right. The UK Energy Research Centre aggregated multiple studies to show that there is a large amount of job creation when alternative energy sources are used. Also, coal miners will be able to export to international markets such as China, where demand is high. As for unreliability, the CPP has a clause that allows for punishment by regional entities if power is shut off. An opponent of removing daylight saving time would be retail stores, which are destinations for residents with extra time in the afternoon. However, the net effect on sales is not as substantial, and our proposal's benefits outweigh. An argument from Governor Pence is that the Clean Power Plan is an executive overreach and the EPA has no jurisdiction. The court will decide on that, but that is why our proposal is meant to be one that has many economic benefits, so it would be a plan that would be more beneficial to Indiana even without CPP in place. Our proposal works well within the political constraints. Governor Pence's main objectives are to improve the economy and uphold the coal industry. Because we are not directly attacking the coal industry with additional costs and requirements, but instead giving them incentives and leading to job creation, our plan is extremely likely to be implemented and remain in place years from now. Our initial impacts may be modest, but the first steps are always better than gridlock and no action. The primary economic effects are reduced demand for energy, which will lead to a lower amount of energy generated as well as lower costs to consumers. Reducing imports and increasing trade will reduce variable costs, increase profit, and develop economies of scale. All of this comes along with income growth and job creation. Some secondary effects are that there will be no costs incurred from switching times twice a year. Also, there will be health benefits from less pollution, and decreased energy costs will allow for more disposable income that can generate cash flow in the economy. Our proposal is to eliminate daylight saving time, develop an energy trade network in the Midwest, and reduce imports of coal. Using a combination of credits, investments in new energy sources, the market strategy, and reducing demand for electricity, we will be able to match the goals set for Indiana by 2030. Thank you for listening.